Any other votes? Announce the results.
Ayes 92, noes 47.
The bill is passed.
Mr. Speaker,
Ms. Peoples-Stokes.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for the opportunity to quiet the chambers down just for a few minutes. Clearly, we are all excited. There are some things to be excited about.
Kavanaugh is going to reverse Roe v. Wade. I have no doubt.
But critics say the Reproductive Health Act goes beyond codifying to expanding. Cardinal Dolan spoke about it on his radio show.
Any limit on the unfettered, unquestioned, absolute right to abortion, they want none of it.
Provisions in the bill include dropping most restrictions on abortions after 24 weeks, allowing midwives and nurse practitioners to perform abortions, and ending criminal charges for harming children in the womb. Livia Abreu of the Bronx lost her baby in a 2018 domestic violence attack. Charges against her ex-boyfriend Oscar Alvarez include abortion in the first degree.
The passing of RHA will exonerate him from those charges. I cannot imagine living in a world where harming and/or killing an unborn child is not a crime.
Democrats say voters put them in control to pass progressive legislation, and the Reproductive Health Act is one of the first on a long list of bills Republicans can no longer stop. Tony Aiello, CBS 2 News.
I'm going to give you a chance to respond, but I want to ask you, Secretary Clinton, I want to explore how far you believe the right to abortion goes. You have been quoted as saying that the fetus has no constitutional rights. You also voted against a ban on late-term partial birth abortions. Why?
Because Roe v. Wade very clearly sets out that there can be regulations on abortion so long as the life and the health of the mother are taken into account. And when I voted as a senator, I did not think that that was the case.
One more question, Dr. Levatino. Why did you end your practice of doing abortions?
I did over 1,200 abortions over a 4-year period in private practice, not counting the ones that I did during my training. I met my wife during my first year of training at Albany Medical Center. We got married about a year later and found that we had an infertility problem. After years of failed infertility treatment and several years trying to adopt a child, we were blessed with adopting a little girl that we named Heather in August of 1978. As sometimes happens in those situations, my wife got pregnant the very next month, and we had 2 children 10 months apart. 2 months short of my daughter Heather's 6th birthday, she was killed in an auto accident and literally died in her arms in the back of an ambulance. Anyone who has children might think they have some idea of what that feels like, but unless you've been through it yourself, you have no idea whatsoever. I know people find it hard to believe, but what do you do after disaster? You bury your child and then you go back to your life. And I don't remember exactly how long it was after my daughter died that I showed up at Albany Medical Center OR number 9 to perform my first second trimester D&E abortion. I wasn't thinking of it as anything special. This was routine to me. But I reached in, literally pulled out an arm or leg and got sick. You know, earlier on I described stacking up body parts on the side of the table. It's not to, gross people out, to use a simple term. When you do an abortion, you need to keep inventory. You have to make sure you get 2 arms and 2 legs and all the pieces. If you don't, your patient's going to come back infected, bleeding, or dead. So I soldiered on and finished that abortion. And I know it sounds, as I said, hard for people to believe, but I'm telling you straight up my experience. You know, after over 1,200 abortions, first and second trimester up to 24 weeks and all the rest of it, and being very dedicated to it, for the first time in my life, I really looked. I really looked at that pile of body parts on the side of the table. And I didn't see her wonderful right to choose, and I didn't see all the money I just made. All I could see was somebody's son or daughter. And I stopped doing late-term abortions after that, and several months later stopped doing all abortions.
Hi, I'm Dr. Bill Lyle, and I practice obstetrics and gynecology. I'm board certified in obstetrics and gynecology, and I'm licensed to practice medicine in both Alabama and Florida. I've been in private practice almost 20 years, and I've delivered almost 4,000 babies with two primary rules. We want to have a healthy mom, and we want to have a healthy baby. It's amazing how over the past 20 years our technology has changed so that we can truly treat the preborn as patients while they're in the womb. Our imaging technology has changed with ultrasound and MRI. It's amazing what we can see, but now we're treating the babies as the patients that they are while they're in the womb. We can do blood transfusions directly to the baby as early as 19 weeks gestation. Centers around the country are now doing heart surgery on the babies as early as 22 weeks gestation. They are correcting spina bifida on baby in the womb laparoscopically at 22 weeks gestation. If they're a patient, they are a person, and if they are a person, they deserve our protection. Yesterday was a sad day in New York. I grew up across the river in New Jersey, but it was a sad day in New York when Governor Mario Cuomo signed the Reproductive Health Act into law. I saw the cheers when it was passed in the House. I saw the cheers, the smiles and celebrations when it was passed in the Senate. And then I saw all the smiling people and all the cheers and celebration. Celebrating what? The governor just signed a law saying that we can take the lives of the babies in the womb up until their due date. That's nothing to celebrate. We can have babies in our NICU doing great at 24 and 25 weeks gestation. Are there reasons why we need to deliver babies early sometimes? Yes, but not take their lives in the process. Deliver them and let them survive and thrive in our NICU. To take the lives of these babies in the womb breaks my heart. It is not good for us. It is not good for America. America is a nation that was founded on virtuous people. You know, our freedom is built on our virtue. You know, de Tocqueville, when he came to view America and study America and say, why is America great? His conclusion, America is great because America is good. If America ceases to be good, America will cease to be great.
Texas Congressman / gynecologist Ron Paul.
Good to see everybody.
I have to hit you with my first question because we discussed it in the Hot Topics. I've read all of your stuff, and I know that you want limited government. Get government out of my life, right?
Good idea.
What about Roe v. Wade? I don't want the government telling me what to do with my body. How do you justify that?
I think the question is whether a baby that is unborn, that weighs 8 pounds, 7th or 8th month of gestation, has any rights. Is it a person?
But what about the first month, or when you usually get an abortion?
You're not for all abortion.
I don't know. It would have to come up in the specific case.
In the line, so you don't want me to do an abortion on somebody that has an 8-pound normal baby?
No, of course not.
Okay, so you're not for abortion, really? I would caution. There was a recognition. That life was valuable, and I don't think anybody's going to win this. You're not even for abortion for anybody every time a minute before birth. You don't want to abort these normal babies.
That's murder.
At the same time, I don't think
this whole notion of life not being valuable just is something I was never able to accept. I happened to have walked into an operating room where they were doing an abortion on a late pregnancy. They lifted out a small baby that was able to cry and breathe, and they put in a little bucket and put it in the corner of the room and pretended it wasn't there. I walked down the hallway and a baby was born early, slightly bigger than the baby that they just put in a bucket. They wanted to save this baby. So they might have had 10 doctors in there doing everything conceivable. Who are we to decide that we pick and throw one away and pick up and struggle to save the other one?
I testified before this committee in 2000 and 2001. It was to tell of my experience as a registered nurse in the labor and delivery department at Christ Hospital in Oaklawn, Illinois, where I discovered babies were being aborted alive and shelved to die in the hospital's soiled utility room. Among other familiar faces that I see here today is Congressman Nadler, who was a member of the committee at that time, as he indicated earlier, and he said that he was appalled by the incidents I described and found them heart-wrenching. Indeed, I was traumatized and changed forever by my experience of holding a little abortion survivor for 45 minutes until he died, a 21 to 22-week-old baby who had been aborted because he had Down syndrome. Since then, other appalling stories of abortion survivors either being abandoned or outright killed have been trickling out. The Kermit Gosnell case provides further evidence that the lines between illegal infanticide and legal feticide, both via abortion, have become blurred. This abortionist was convicted only last week of 3 counts of first-degree murder in the deaths of 3 born babies whose spinal cords, we all know, were snipped, as he called them. Also last week came the revelation and photos from 3 former employees who allege that Houston abortionist Douglas Carpin routinely kills babies after they are born by puncturing the soft spot on their head, or impaling the stomach with a sharp instrument, twisting the head off, or puncturing the throat with his finger. It is easy to be horrified by heart-wrenching stories such as this, and to imagine the torture that abortion survivors endure as they are being killed. But it is somehow not so easy to envision preborn babies the same age being tortured as they are killed by similar methods. Today, premature babies are routinely given pain relief who are born at the same age as babies who are torn limb from limb or injected in the heart during abortions. The World Health Organization goes so far as to recommend pain relief for preemies getting a simple heel stick to withdraw a couple of drops of blood. Likewise, prenatal surgery is becoming commonplace, and along with it, anesthesia for babies being operated on, even in, quoting, the middle of pregnancy, as the Cincinnati Children's Hospital says. Meanwhile, babies of an identical age are torn apart during abortions with no pain relief.
And throughout history, there have been those great evils. You know, maybe in Bethlehem, looking at the slaughter of those children. Germany and Europe during the 40s, lynchings here in America. Some things are so evil, that's a coping struggle. Abortion seems to be that evil today that you either run to and look at with all seriousness or you run away from and avoid. Have you felt that struggle?
It's exactly what you said as far as this. You only have so much emotional energy, like you just feel like you're going to break. Like Paul says in Romans 9, I have this unceasing anguish, this great sorrow, unceasing anguish as he thinks about those who don't know the Lord and their destiny. It's like, gosh, how can I think about that, dwell on that, and survive? I remember as a kid, used to see those starving kids on the TV, on the commercials, and it's like, I can't look at that anymore. Let me flip the channel. And certainly when it comes to this issue of abortion, and I remember the first time I visually saw what actually takes place, it makes you sick. You go, I don't want to look at it. I can't handle it. I don't want to handle it.
And yet I needed to see it.
Yeah, oh yeah,
in order to be moved, because abortion is just a word. It doesn't have any meaning to me, not like lynching.
Yeah.
It's an awful, ugly word, but I have a graphic image that pops into my mind.
Yeah.
As Billie Holiday said, strange fruit hanging from the poplar tree. The image and the word now go together, but with abortion, it doesn't mean anything until you're exposed to the reality. That was my experience.
See, we do this with issues
so
like that.
I think if we're honest, we'll all say it's the pictures left over from Dachau. It's the pictures of the camps that revealed the horrors of it. You can say murder, you can say 6 million, but when you see the piles of bodies. So I think there's a place. But if we're afraid to look at what's really happening as babies are torn limb from limb, some of them this small, some of them this small, we're being dishonest. Here's what I think would be helpful for pastors. I can think of lots of churches I've been to where if abortion were introduced, half the church would walk out. Those are churches that have not cultivated a profound submission to the Bible and a profound reverence for the authority of God and the grandeur of God.
We should be, I pray that we will be someday, as amazed that we could have done this, that as a society we could have done it without a civil war yet. We should be amazed that we could have done it, even as we are as amazed that this whole land was divided and killed 600,000 of our fellow citizens over the issue of slavery. Because biblically and morally we knew it was right and permissible. And today, uniformly, with teeny little exceptions, everybody says, how could they believe that? Owning a person because of the color of their skin. This issue is just as clear, and we are just as blind. There's a little difference in the comparison. There's a difference bunch. Here's one. The babies can't run. They can't run. The Underground Railroad for the babies is totally dependent on you, the abolitionists. They can't run. The slaves at least could